Hey everybody, welcome back to Work Grind Hustle. Thank you so much for tuning in because I'm so excited to share with you today. We have an amazing subject, all really about mindset. And joining us is my good friend, Mark Gambale. Mark, I'm going to let you actually just give a little brief introduction about your background, sort of who you are, what you're up to these days.
Thanks, Wayne. I'm glad to be here today with all of you. My background is largely in the area of product innovation and development. I've had the pleasure of working with teams of multiple engineers, business leaders, market experts, and at the end of the day, I've seen multiple deals come together and multiple deals fall apart, and it's all based upon something I call, and something that I learned about in college, which is game theory, and the idea of the win-win or the win-lose or multiple combinations thereof. And I was pretty excited to learn that theory and find a way to practice it in day-to-day business.
Love it. And so today, even what Mark just mentioned was the win-win or the win-lose. And we're going to dive even deeper into the win-win-win, right? Truly, it's going to be all about how to surround yourself with people who support you, right? People who want to make you better, almost just like-minded individuals, right? So Mark, we've been working together for how long now?
It's been about 5 months.
Been about 5 months, and I think this is sort of a subject matter that sort of brought us together in the first place, which is super exciting, right? Because I think when it comes to finding like-minded people, well, let me just ask you this instead. How do you think you can sort of tell if someone is like-minded, if someone should, almost get more of your time?
So in my book, the first way to really tell if someone is in this win-win category is how interested they are in me and what my success is. So for example, if they say, hey, Mark, what does success look like for you for this deal? How are you going to know if it's right? If they ask that simple question, I already know they have my best interests in mind because they probably don't want the deal to fall apart in 6 months to a year. So they're already hinting to me they care about a mutually beneficial outcome. And I often will ask them, hey, what does success look like for you that you would be so excited about? Paint that vision cast picture of what a good deal looks like, not just financially, but emotionally. How is this really gonna support your vision and your well-being? Because guess what? There's hundreds of deals out there we could all be chasing, but what are the one or two that really matter?
Nice. I like that a lot. Do they have your best interests in mind? And so that sort of question, you can maybe rephrase it, I think is great immediate takeaway for people here on how you can sort of start to just gather people's mindsets and their true intentions. So sort of along the lines of what are you hoping to see out of this project, or what do you want to see this in the long term? Or can you sort of rephrase that for us, Mark?
Yeah, I simply just say, what does success look like to you?
What does success look like to you? And so what would maybe be an answer to that question that would almost throw up a red flag?
So first of all, if they just throw out numbers that are just astronomically ludicrous, that scares me because it tells me they haven't really considered the real opportunity and how it's going to take a lot of work to get there. So if someone said, wow, if we're not making millions of dollars in the first 2 months, this is wrong. Because that actually tells me they haven't done deals before and don't know how much work it really takes, and they don't have a sense of realism. So I guess to sum it up, if they don't have realistic expectations, that tells me that it might be a bad play from the beginning.
Definitely. And so, I mean, this overarching theme that we're talking about today, right, is way more about partnerships and relationships than just individual sales and business deals, right? Because where my mindset went just now was, okay, well, it sounds like, if they immediately just start talking about money, that maybe it should toss up a red flag, right? They're in it for the quick turnaround just to make money. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. However, when you're talking about truly building relationships, right, surrounding yourself with like-minded people, that's definitely, I think it should throw up a red flag, right? It does say, hey, this person is here for just this one transaction. They're not really here to be a long-term partner of mine. Does that make sense?
It does. And sometimes there is a unique win-win-win, I'll call it, that only exists when two companies can work together and create something that's only possible through that combination. And I'll give you an example. Back in the early days of my product management career, I identified that there was just a market leader, the gorilla, that owned everything. And through figuring out how they got there, I also learned that patents were a key way of protecting their ownership of that space. And then I realized that there were other competitors that had patents that opposed that. And that when I reached out to that company, I said, guess what? This one that had the new patents. What if we align forces and combine our patent suite? How excited would you be to enter this new market and go up against that new competitor? Oh no, by the way, your portfolio plus my portfolio defeats the opposing company's patent fences.
Yeah.
And they said, you know what? If you guarantee that you'll protect us from any lawsuit, we'll partner with you, because this is a market we've always wanted to get into, but we've never had anyone like you willing to protect us in this battle against them. So right there, we had a unity of mindset and a vision to work together, because the sum of our parts were greater than the whole. And by golly, when we launched on the market, we not only didn't get sued by that main competitor, but they were so fearful of us and concerned about what was going to happen, they actually ran away from a lot of deals. And we hit our 6-month sales goal, our annual goal, in 6 months, just by having a good, solid plan and partnership in place. That
is awesome, Mark. That truly stands out to me, because especially when it comes to something like a patent, right? I think they can be very wary or afraid to share that with anybody or let other people almost use it, because what's the point of a patent in the first place is it's almost saying, hey, no, I own this. This is all mine. And so, wow, that's great that they are willing to actually partner with you guys, because they understood that the sum of the parts was greater, or the whole was greater than just the individual parts, right?
Yes, and the funny thing is, what's interesting about this story is, prior to doing that deal, that main competitor, that market leader, asked us to sell all their products. And I flat out said to the CEO, we're not doing a deal with them, and here's why. They already exhibit the win-lose mentality. We will lose. They will only leverage us as far as they can, and then literally drop the deal, and we'll be in worse condition. So my mindset was, look for the win-win-win always. Otherwise, be prepared to be taken down by your bad decisions with who you partner with.
Yep, I couldn't agree with that more. And so a large portion of the audience listens to the podcast are entrepreneurs and business owners. And a lot of times, especially when you're first starting out, you want to take every deal, every opportunity that presents itself to you, simply because you need to pay the bills. But it's super interesting, because if you heard what Mark just said, if you do take every opportunity, if you do take every partnership, it can actually hurt you more in the long run, because it's going to end up honestly coming around to bite you in the butt, because you weren't aligned in the first place, right? You need to make sure that you're working with people who have your best interests in mind, not just their own, Or else, hey, next thing you were trying your hardest, yet you did something that rubbed the other party the wrong way. And now, especially in 2020, they go slander your name all over the internet. And hey, it's tough to get reviews taken down when somebody else posts them.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that because it's hard for new entrepreneurs to figure out, well, what's the science behind what I should do versus where is this partner at emotionally? Like, am I even on their radar? If we sign this deal, are they going to pay attention to it and me and be a strong partner? Or if something goes sideways, are they just going to run away and say, well, I didn't even expect this to work anyway? So that emotional side is an important component that kind of compounds this mathematical game theory of win-win that we're talking about.
Yeah, definitely. So, Mark, now that you mentioned game theory again, can you redefine that just for everybody? I know you touched on it in the beginning of the episode, but it's pretty important. It's a great thing to live by.
Yeah. So I'm not going to get the major definition 100% right from Wikipedia, but the way I think of it is all participants profit and win by this sort of win-win game theory analysis. So imagine a square or an XY coordinate axis. The upper right is the win-win. Everyone wants to be there, ideally because all parties benefit and there's no loss in that situation. Another reason to be in that category is if there's a likelihood that the partnership could renew or expand to other situations where there's a referral, get a deal that's a win-lose, that other party is going to say, guess what? Don't work with them because look at the deal I got. It's not a win-win. They didn't have my best interest in mind, and that automatically spreads like wildfire in the business world, and then your reputation is sullied by your short-term interests.
Yeah, right. And so before we started recording this episode, you funny enough brought up the real estate industry a little bit, right? Especially because that industry is so largely driven by referrals that if you don't understand game theory or have the win-win mentality from the get-go, you can miss out on such large opportunities in the end. And talk a little bit about that, because you were mentioning essentially they're almost overthinking each other, or they're just so much into the win-win because they understand the long term. Is that right?
Yes. And a great way to think about this is real estate agents, and I'll use David as an example. I was recently talking to him. He said, guess what? I'm constantly chasing about 25 deals, but only one in those 25 actually come to a purchase and sale agreement where they get the rights to the property and they get a chance to represent and close the deal. And he had said, I never know which one is going to be that 25, so I'm constantly reaching out and engaging. And when that one of the 25 closes, he's always reaching out after the deal is closed and said, thank you for that. Here's your cut of the commission. Here's what I owe you per the contract. But they also say, okay, that's great. Let's do another one of those. And they will reach out and sometimes send them a bonus check of hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to say, let's do that again. Because you brought that lead to me that led to one of my 25 deals that closed that month or that quarter. And it might sound small and it might sound strange to actually send extra money to someone, but it pays in the long run, where relationships and referrals are everything to the game of real estate.
Seriously. It's funny because you just mentioned, right, that this deal that closes, right, they're thanking them or they're sending them a bonus check. I'd be willing to put money on it that the 24 other deals that didn't close, they're following up in the exact same manner, just simply saying, hey, thank you for even presenting the opportunity. I know we didn't get to work together this time, but I hope we get to again in the future. Please keep considering me for your business. Right?
And it's not even the money that matters, is the trust of the win-win that came together that says, let's do this again. You had my best interest in mind. I had yours. Let's not make this a one and done, but try to repeat it and scale it out in a way. And that's a challenging part for real estate, because scaling out a trusted relationship is pretty hard. I mean, imagine if you were to put your home up for sale, your parents were, they would call their friends and say, hey, who's a good broker that you've used or friends of yours have used? And that trusted referral is money. And it's the only way that successful brokers remain successful. It's keeping that win-win game theory alive.
Keeping it alive. So let me ask you this, right? What happens if one of the parties, for lack of better words here, doesn't keep it alive, right? They almost break the trust or they let you down. Does that mean that you have to count them out for the rest of time? Can you ever work with them again?
So, that brings up an interesting story about Richard Branson that I was following on LinkedIn a little while ago. Nice. And back in his early college days, he was actually editor of the college newspaper. And he identified a local business person that he respected, and he really wanted to take him out for dinner and drinks. And that person, for whatever reason, just said no, and it didn't work out. But years later, after Richard Branson became obviously super successful, that business person reached out to Richard and said, hey, I'm ready for that drink and meal now. And Richard posed on LinkedIn, and appropriately so, said, hey, what would you do in this situation? And what he was really asking the audience is, guess what? I was looking for a win-win. I didn't even get to a conversation or a deal. But what's in the best interest? And he basically said, I'm going to go meet with this guy because at the end of the day, I always want to do a deal and partner and see where things can go. And I think that's the question we all have to ask ourselves is, hey, even if something doesn't work out one day, it doesn't mean it won't happen again in a way that's different. So always pursue each interaction with what's the best possible outcome for everyone. And if you're seeking that in the best interest for bigger than you, then that's the right way to go. But that's just been my personal experience.
I couldn't agree with you more. And there's people that are going to do you wrong in life, right? There's people who are going to fall short. They're going to leave you hanging. And I think the natural response and instinct in everybody is almost to spite them, right? Like, oh man, this person, they screwed me over. The next chance I get, I'm going to stick it to them. Right? But you don't know what the future holds. Little do you know that the biggest deal of your entire life, you're going to have to go through that same person. And how is it going to feel when you had shut that door, when you had intentionally slammed it on their face because they had done something to you, right? As long as we can only control our own mindset, right, our own being, we don't know what the future holds, right?
No, we don't. In fact, I had a personal experience with this early on in my career that was, kind of perplexing. Back in the early day of the internet and e-commerce in '99, I ranked Amazon and its online electronics website as number 5 amongst all the top players. And Jeff Bezos invited me and my boss out to meet with him and his team and really get to know them and also have a serious conversation about where they could do better and where they were going as a company. Yeah. And, after meeting with them and really getting to know their operation, it worked out that when it was time to meet Jeff for dinner one-on-one, he didn't show.
Wow.
And I was really upset about that. But guess what? I don't know what happened that day and what his goals were. And maybe something happened that was so significant, either in his family or in business, that he just couldn't make it. But as I think about business today, projects that I'm working on, companies that I'm partnering with today might be a future acquisition target of Amazon's. And if Jeff was to invite me out to dinner, I would definitely say yes. and because it's the art of the new deal and the new win-win. And it's a new opportunity to just seek the best outcome for everyone. And if that didn't happen in business, if people didn't gravitate to the win-win, I think we'd see far fewer deals and partnerships out there in the market. So it's not just our experience. This is what works best for everyone. Does it work all the time? No. And to your point, not every deal goes the way it needs to, because sometimes there's unforeseeables and unpredictable events that happen.
Definitely. Imagine just like how awful it would be that if, back then when when Jeff Bezos didn't show up to that dinner, right? Let's say you sent him some angry email, like, how dare you waste my time? You think you're better than us, blah, 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 right? Fast forward, who knows, 10, 20, 30 years. Now you've been working with a business that they can ideally be acquired by Amazon, but now all of a sudden he doesn't want to do the deal because you had slammed that door in his face so long ago. How awful would that be? Like, it's just a mindset thing, everybody. Like, you need to make sure that you are controlling yourself, right? Your actions, and make sure that you're always there for the win-win, right? Even today, if somebody on the other side of the table isn't thinking in that manner, people can always change. They can always get better. And down the road, ideally, they will come back to you and, they'll have turned into one of these win-win personalities, somebody who really does understand game theory.
And I have to share that it's very telling that when you're working with someone else, if they are very quick to articulate the picture of success and say, this is what we're looking for, that's who you want to work with, because they already know what the win-win is. If they can't measure that and share this is what success is for us, then you might want to pause and say, well, let me know when you're at the point where you know what that mutual success is, because for now, you kind of want to hold off. Yep,
but that's fine. Hey, right? Just give people time. That's a lot of time all they need, right?
That's right. And even remember when you and I were talking about the student class at the University of Colorado and, working with them on their senior campaigns program, what was really important to me is, what do the students want for success? How is that defined by them? Because it's a capstone project for them. What they're delivering is what they're delivering as if they were an agency with an unlimited budget. Well, when you're in that situation, sky's the limit and success is huge. And so you want to work and set them up for maximum success.
Yep, no doubt about it, right? Especially, it's basically your employees, right? That's the instance that you're talking about. Mark's referring to, it's a program at the University of Colorado that they essentially get a client and they're acting as if they are the creative marketing agency for the client. It's their capstone project. And so spin that into the real world, right? You want to make sure that although your employees or subcontractors or other businesses know that you're paying to do work for you, you still need to make sure that the project overall is going to be a success and a win for them. Good?
Perfect.
Love it. Guys, Mark is an amazing project manager, just growth strategist overall. And so if you're looking to take your business to the next level, Mark, I want them to be able to connect with you. So this is your chance to give a plug, give some information on how they can connect with you. And of course, as always, we'll make sure to link to it down below. But please, it's your time, whatever you want to share.
First and foremost, I would say that we all have the opportunity to be entrepreneurs. And what I mean by that is, maybe you know what you want to do and what you want to change, either in an industry or in the world. Maybe that's you starting a company or taking that growth and change mindset to a corporation that literally is asleep at the wheel, that needs your energy to refocus why they do what they do and how they can do it better. And if you're in that situation, whether you're starting something off or you're looking to really inspire innovation within a corporation where you work, reach out. I've done this multiple times, and I've had the opportunity to work with lots of amazing talent out there, whether it's an artist, an engineer, a designer, a CEO. All of you have incredible talents that you're bringing to the table, and I love finding ways to inspire and help unleash your talents to really transform things.
Mark, that was so inspirational in itself, man. Thank you so. Dude, I just want to say thank you for being on here, because that right there is something that I think I don't even talk about enough. That everybody can really be an entrepreneur. Everybody can help create change. It sounds like that's the overall theme that you're talking about.
I find that people have maybe lost sight of what the inspiration is, and they're just focusing on fixing problems or bug fixes when they're missing the bigger picture. And if you want to learn more about or how to connect with me, just go to gambalelabs.com and learn more about what we do and how we can partner with you.
Perfect. We'll put that link down below. Guys, thanks so much for tuning into today's episode. As always, my one ask is please leave us a review. In that review, even give a topic idea. If you have a question, let me know. I watch it like a hawk. I'll be sure to cover it on future episodes. And if this episode did resonate with you, share it to somebody who might get some value as well. Send it to them in a text message, shoot it to them in a DM, or better yet, post on social media. Because without you guys, we're going to have a lot of trouble growing the show and reaching the billions of lives. That's truly my goal. So, Mark, hey, thanks again for taking the time out of your day. I really appreciate it.
It was fun chatting with you, Wayne. Thanks for having me.
Good. All right. Until next time, everybody. Peace.